Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. We're talking about surveillance this week, and this is a topic that have given people a lot of negative vibes. And I want to start off with the negative perspective on it in terms of social media. So a lot of people seem to be concerned about, the government being in their phones, wiretapping the phones and being on their social media pages. And I do see why that'd be a problem. But if we, take a look at the reading that was assigned for today with Marwick, a lot of points that she brings up is that people are more concerned with uh, aren't as concerned with governments or corporations looking at their social media, but instead key people that follow them or that they follow. They're more interested in making sure that their profiles are perfect, have a perfect perception for people that follow them on social media. So people are more consumed with other people's pages and how they can improve their page. And I think that's kind of a negative thing because it takes away from the quality of communication on an interpersonal level in everyday life. And I can see why. I mean, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite because I am a social media user. I do see how addicting it is, and it's just this new form of communication where people don't have to be in the same room. You can talk to someone who's in a different country. So I see the appeal. I just do see the negatives in it and how it takes away from the quality of communicating kind of without social media. People kind of are more consumed and more interested in social media nowadays instead of other ways or, types of forms that you can communicate without social media. So I want to focus more on the positives of surveillance, especially when it comes to government and primarily the court systems. So every day if you're scrolling on social media, Facebook or whatever have you, you can see that there's a lot of videos or articles on police brutality and unfair court trials and people, people getting sentenced to life or sentenced to just unfair sentences that they don't deserve. And I can see this is kind of how surveillance ties into how effective it can be. And a lot of people concerned with government surveillance, I can totally see that. Again, I really don't want the government on my, listening to my phone calls every time I call someone. But, if we can look at the domestication, and if you look at the reading from Haddon, domesticating of technology in the human species, we can tame surveillance to the point, nowadays where I think everyone does feel better if there's a camera. And a lot of people that are upset with the police, certain police just not doing their job, breaking their oaths. Surveillance is something that can really hold them in check. And I got three categories. You have the court, law enforcement, and civilians. And all three of them interconnect. And we're all responsible to be ethical and be responsible as human beings to keep our society running and make sure we reduce crime to as little as possible. So if we have surveillance, you have a camera um, right outside a grocery market or whatever have you, whatever the setting is, and a police officer is beating the crap out of a person, and next thing you know, that person is being racially discriminated, socially discriminated, and maybe they made a few mistakes in their background, all tying into the combination of them getting in more trouble than they deserve. And sometimes, most times cops get away with it, or most times, it's vice versa, and the cop gets in trouble for it. Either way, I think surveillance will hold us in check. Um, and the whole domestication topic with Haddon, it's really going to just support it. Surveillance will totally support that, and it's vice versa because surveillance will hold all of us in check. So courts will become more fair. Videos will show the truth of what happened, and looking into the future of how we can even improve surveillance. If we had a technology where cameras could be activated when something is just not right, and I know it sounds a little far fetched, but I'm sure with how fast technology is advancing, we could probably come up with something like this. But if we come up with something where we can create a technology where, like after hours, if there's a grocery store and someone's breaking in, the camera will automatically click on and detect someone being where they shouldn't be at a certain time. Because I do like the fact of kind of limiting surveillance where they're not always on our phone calls, and maybe the wiretap can detect a certain word, and I think they actually can do that. Where if you say bomb on the phone, people like the government can automatically tap right into that conversation. Another thing for futuristic purposes and how we can develop surveillance, the Black Mirror episode. Very fascinating, and how memories can be saved, and everyone has like access to them. Something when I was developing my topic for this week, and what I wanted to argue against was, or argue for, is having public access. So any video that goes down for law enforcement, for the court, people have access to that. And I'm pretty sure, people do mostly have access to like court, files and videos and stuff like that. But again, the three categories. You have the court, law enforcement, and civilians. Just kind of improving it day by day and constantly working to just improve the overall quality of surveillance and tying into the three categories. Because overall, we want our civilians, as civilians, we want to make sure we're morally, doing the right thing every day and trying to better our society. Law enforcement, we want to make sure they are being held accountable and doing their job. Now that they have the video cameras right on their chest, I think that's brilliant. I think it really just holds them in check. And the biggest factor to hold in check is the court system. Because if I get accused for something, I want to go into a trial knowing I have video evidence, photo evidence, people on my back. You want to go in there with all of the resources that you need to have a true and justified court trial. So that's my spiel on surveillance. Crazy topic. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.